Hi y'all, I'm Taryn with Sowing the City. Today we're preserving our turnip greens. So in a previous video, I showed you how my family and I like to preserve our mustard and turnip greens. But after a few days of researching, we decided that we're going to change up how we preserve our mustard and turnip greens. Of course, this video is going to be related to the turnip greens specifically. So stay tuned to see how we do it now. The first step in this process is to completely empty all of your turnip greens into the sink. Next, you will separate the stem from the leaf itself. Now, this is honestly up to you, but my family and I have realized over the years that we prefer to eat our turnip greens without that stem. The stem can be very tough. Now, that doesn't mean you have to completely throw the stem away. It just means you don't need to keep the stem attached to the leaf itself. But again, that's up to you. The next step is to completely fill the sink with water. This is very important because we are going to clean these greens in the sink very thoroughly until we no longer see any dirt in the water after we clean them. It's very important that we do this because we do not want to eat greens that still has dirt in them, or even worse, insects. Not that insects are bad, but we don't want to eat them. Now we're going to use a little bit of baking soda on our greens. And of course, we use this because it helps to get bugs off the greens in case we missed any. Now you can see here that I'm carefully massaging the greens. Now I'm moving a little bit slower when I massage the greens because I'm looking through them very thoroughly, making sure that I'm getting off any dirt. Do I see any insects? Just making sure that I do this very, very thoroughly because I want to make sure, again, that when we eat these greens, they are very clean or as clean as they possibly can be. So that's my step. And of course, when my dad massages the greens, he does it a little bit more tougher than I do. And honestly, if you're going to clean your greens, you probably need to put a little bit more oomph in it like my dad does. He's great at washing our greens. He washes them many, many times, sometimes as many as 6 times. You're going to wash these greens for as long as it takes. If it takes 3 times or if it takes 6 times, then that's fine. And of course, we're going to transfer them to the other side of the sink so we can start this process over again. Now, I want you to look at the color of that water on the left side of the sink. Is that not the most beautiful green color that you've ever seen? It is so beautiful. This is not a filter or anything. This is honestly the color of the water. This is why I like to grow my own food, because you really can see the quality. However, it's important to know you can still see a little bit of dirt in there. So that means we must keep washing. So now my dad is going to thoroughly massage the greens once more, and I'm going to put a little bit more baking soda in here. I like to use baking soda just about every time we massage the greens and wash them over again. Again, this is just my choice, but it does help to ward off any little critters that may be really hard to see. But that's just something that we do. You can also use apple cider vinegar, or you can use sea salt. I heard that sea salt helps as well. And again, I want you to see the color of this water as my dad transfers these greens to the other side of the sink so that we can continue this process of washing and then preserving our greens. It's important to look at the color of the water because that lets you know exactly how far you need to go when cleaning it. If you look at the water and see no dirt, then that means you're ready to go. If you still see some dirt, you need to continue to clean it. So when you look at this water, first, admire the green color, of course, but you will see that there are still little specks of dirt, soil, so you want to make sure that you pay attention to that because that means we have to wash it at least once more, at least. Now, don't worry, I can assure you that this will be the last time that we have to wash these turnip greens. Now, I know that this can take a little bit of a long time when it comes to washing your greens and making sure that they're clean, but Honestly, when it comes to eating these greens, you just have to make sure you go through this process thoroughly. This is the longest part of this whole process. And once you do it right, then you don't have to worry about it anymore. You can move on to the next step of actually blanching your greens so that you can then freeze them and cook them at any point in time. And yes, we are using baking soda one more time. This is just something that we like to use. Again, you can use apple cider vinegar or salt, and make sure you're thoroughly massaging those greens so that you can get all of the little dirt and critters off of there. And if you see any part of the greens that look kind of yellow or soft and soggy or just not to your liking, go ahead and take them out. You don't have to eat those. You're doing this to your liking, okay? Now, just look at the color of that water. Now, that's what we want to see. Beautiful, clean, and green water, okay? The clearer, the better. Beautiful. This is the overhead shot of the hot water. Okay. This is an overhead shot of the ice water. Perfect.
And what we gotta do?
Now it's time to blanch our greens. This is extremely important. You're going to start by putting the greens in hot boiling water for 2 minutes. Yes, 2 minutes. Start with the hot water first. Make sure that the greens are completely covered. And yes, my dad finally moved the pot closer to him as opposed to trying to do this when it's far away. Do not try to do this when the pot is far away from you. But yes, you're going to put the greens in the hot boiling water for 2 minutes. As you can see there, that's my clock. Time had already surpassed. You're going to make sure that you massage it down so that the water is completely covering it. You don't want any of your greens to just sit I guess like a top of the water and out of the pot. Make sure that the greens are completely covered, and put all of your greens, if you can fit all of your greens into the pot at once, that'll be beneficial to you as opposed to having to continue to kind of like do it in steps. I understand if that's what you have to do, but greens do cook down quite a bit. So if you can just get those greens into that pot all at once, that'll be beneficial for you. And you can just kind of massage them with your spoon or your spatula so you can get them in that pot, cooked down as much as possible, so that they can blanch in the hot water. And again, you're going to start with this process, and this will only take 2 minutes, no more and no less. Okay, first of all, look at this color. One of the benefits of blanching is because it retains not only nutrients, but the color. Nonetheless, the next step after putting it in the pot boiling water is to put it in ice cold water. Yes, from hot to cold. That's a part of the process. So you're going to carefully move those greens from the hot pot to the cold pot. Do not physically touch them with your hands. You can just use a spatula or something of that sort. Make sure you get everything from one pot into the other. And of course, make sure it's completely covered in that water. After that, you're going to let the water completely drain out of your greens, or as much as you can. Of course, you don't want to freeze soggy, wet greens. You want to kind of let that water drain out as much as possible, and then put it in the freezer bag to then put it in the freezer itself. So that's what you see here. Isn't that beautiful? Amazing. These greens, we're going to cook. My mom is going to cook these turnip greens. My mom is going to cook these turnip greens and the mustard greens, which we already preserved, for Thanksgiving.
Okay. Okay. Be careful with my greens.
Okay. Look at how pretty these are. Do you see that? Look at that color. You put the turnip greens in this freezer bag. Make sure if you're going to put anything that needs to be in the freezer in a freezer appropriate bag. And we put the label on there, the date, of course, because you know, you want to make sure that you're aware of the day that you actually put them in the freezer so you don't keep them in the freezer too long. And then label it.